Hello everyone, this is Sonic Sam. I'm just gonna explain why I think Overlord Season 4 will be absolutely amazing. And why this will be the point where Overlord probably becomes very popular. Just heads up before I say anything, please, these are the volumes in English, not all of them. There's a few ones that I do need to buy, but I have read them. Go to Amazon, you can find them.
Into something even more horrible. Grasp heart. Death incarnate made a clinching motion.
Please buy them. The author has made it very clear that he wants people to buy the books. Like, that's the way to support him, so buy his books. They're on Amazon. I'll probably put a link in the description. And even if you do not want to get a bunch of them, just hold on. Sorry. At least buy, you can at least buy one of the volumes, at least this first one. They have some really cool pictures inside. Like, they have a cool thing where it flips out into more pictures. Like, they have a lot of cool art like that you can exclusively get in a book that you can see at any point. So it's definitely worth getting, even if you just get the first volume or two. Support the author, buy the anime stuff, so on. Okay, well, let's jump right into it. I don't have to script it. I figured let's just be as natural as possible with this, since a lot of what I feel about Overlord is all up here. It's pretty straightforward. But I'm just gonna go over some reasons. I do have some notes here, so on. I'm gonna try to speak not too quickly, like I did last video. Okay, first let's talk about what kind of anime Overlord is. It's a isekai anime, which you might be like, oh, well, there's been millions of isekai animes. Isekai animes are becoming the new harem rom-com animes that have been happening for years, that we've been having for like the last 20 years. Like, there was so many harem harem animes just in general that you're just like, it's basically it's a dying breed. And compared to how they are now, where each new harem rom-com anime has some type of unique thing, like Kunosuga can't communicate, or like things like Rent a Girlfriend, like each one, or Date Alive, all are different harem animes that clearly have something to make it more than just how the harem animes were like back in the day, where they would just pretty much like, hey, this is a guy that is like you and he's gonna have all these girls and they're all gonna love him, with not much action, or they usually combine them with some type of action element. Harem animes have gone a long way, right? Isekai animes are becoming such an overloaded breed, and yeah, they're more interesting than I would say a harem anime, but they're becoming so common where like the guy shows up, he goes to a different world, he's like overpowered, and they just kind of flex everything around him, right? Like, that's what just happens, right? So when you're trying to get someone into Overlord and they're like, oh, what's Overlord about? And you're like, oh, it's a isekai anime, and they're like, oh, well, I've seen millions of those, right? It's hard to explain why Overlord is what it is, right, to somebody else. But I'm just comparing it to a harem anime in particular, just so we can kind of get a concept, because a lot of people do consider isekai animes exactly like that. But what makes Overlord a little bit more unique than most isekai animes, that's how it's built and how it's told. We know them all. Like I said, you come to the new world, you're just overpowered because you're either just smarter than everyone else, because you're from the modern world and everyone else isn't, and it's in medieval times, right? It's what it is. There's so many ways the isekai animes just put the character into everything. Overlord is doing a unique perspective that most isekai animes aren't doing. And not only that, it's not trying to be like the new Re:Zero. It's not trying to be the new like Sword Art Online or whatever you want to call it. It's not trying to break the mold. It has a story that the writer wrote, that he enjoyed and he liked, and he built around it. He built the world, and that is where like the real love for it goes. It's doing a different perspective, obviously, but it wasn't like he was doing it because he was like, oh, well, no one's doing it based on this, because that's been kind of done by a few before anyways. But he's like, I like doing it based on this, and I'm going to build around it, and that's what they did. What also makes Overlord really interesting that people always forget is that Overlord's heavily based into the D&D, heavily D&D based. And if you don't know, D&D's been around for a long time. It's very Western modern like fantasy, but it's built on a system that you can build around for players to make you know, like stories out of. And Overlord very much feels like that. And it's heavily like influenced by that, just by how the spell system work, how items work. You can tell that he has a love for D&D. It's there. And that alone helps the world feel a lot more balanced, because even if you're like, oh, I don't really know how the world works, you can easily, if you know D&D, you can easily compare to that. A lot of the stuff in the actual stuff already Overlord is very D&D already, from character cards and so on. It's pretty wild how that is the case, right? Another reason why Overlord will be amazing is because no one is expecting Overlord to be like I said, the next big thing. It's a very, it's a very above average isekai, but let's be honest, guys. Every new video game that comes out is trying to be the next Halo 3. It's trying to be the next fucking Elden Ring, right? And it's like, no, just make your game. Just make your game or make your story, even if it's average, that's fine. Every movie we see now is just a remake of other movies. Like, we just want something new, unique, and different. It doesn't have to be the next Game of Thrones, right? It just has to be good, enjoyable, and fun to like feel invested into, and that's what Overlord is. It feels like an actual built world, and it is. It's an actual built-up world that you can tell the writer put time into. It's not only about not every episode is just Eins. It's like there's some Eins in there, but it's some seasons, especially season 2, was around characters we never talked about, like the Lizard Man, around like Savage, so on, right? It feels like a complete world. No one feels like they're not a real character. Everyone feels important, and that's what I enjoy personally. Not only that, Overlord just has a unique take on humor. Overlord can be gory, bloody, brutal, but then the next 10 minutes you're laughing because Albedo can't help but fill up Eins up, like it's great. Like it's to be able to go from these different like emotions so quickly and not feel weird about it is great. It's definitely not going to be something for everybody, but if you like that, you have a unique taste. That means you have a good enough sense of humor. I feel personally that you can enjoy that. Any show that can make you go between emotions very quickly is doing something right. And I tell you one thing, I love that Overlord can very easily go from being really funny to being very like adventurous and unique to very like evil gore and taking itself very seriously. Like, that's great. That's awesome. I love to see that. And like I said, I have the note here that says the built-up world. Yeah, like, let's be honest, Overlord feels like a fleshed out world. We'd easily spent the first 2 seasons, you can tell, like, we were just building up Eins into the world, everything, the whole universe, right? We were building it up, what the situation, everything was, right? We built that up. And this is where we're at, right? We built it up, we're ready to go, right? Now, and then season 3, we kind of got Eins in the actual spotlight, connecting to all these other things without him being secret, right? Let me tell you one thing. Season 4 is going to be absolutely amazing, mostly because, well, let's be honest, like, if you read the books, 4 is when, like, Eins is, like, after the point in season 3, all the volumes after that, Eins actually has a significant part of the story. Everyone's talking about him. He's basically the Overlord, like he's what is the book is like called. He's an overpowering force that everyone's afraid of, everyone wants to do something about because he's just so powerful. He's literally the arch enemy, even though he's not trying to be. So after this point in season 4 is going to just be great, because if you were like, okay, I want to see Eins and more stuff, being more part of the world, doing more of that stuff, you're going to get it. And there's so many great things that happen from this point forward. So that alone is good. If you liked Eins as a character and you want to see more like the action, more of that, impact, you're gonna get it. And that alone is gonna make season 4 and anything after that absolutely amazing. And if you don't know, season 4 is gonna be based off of volumes 11, 12, and 13. Well, the movie is gonna be based off the Holy Kingdom arc, which I want to point out that a company that actually realizes that the Holy Kingdom arc in particular isn't going to really be able to fit in the anime, or just isn't going to be fit well in the anime, and they decided to put it in the movie instead, shows they're willing to adapt. If you don't know, in season 2, when the Lizardman stuff kind of happens between the characters and all that stuff, it didn't happen in that exact order actually in the books. It actually happened in kind of the opposite order. But it didn't ruin the story or anything. It didn't ruin the season. It didn't ruin the volume story or the season 2 story. But they just did it in a different order because it wasn't gonna affect the story in any way. But it was gonna make the story more cohesive for most people. And seeing a company willing to adapt like that, but still stay as close to the source material as possible, is great. I'm extremely happy to hear the Holy Kingdom arc's going to be a movie, because it didn't need to be part of the show. And I was a little worried when I was like, oh, Holy Kingdom arc is going to be part of the anime, because I'm like, how are they going to fit that and be able to tell that story, especially when the Holy Kingdom arc, to me, is a pretty significant part of the story. So seeing that they put it in the movie so they can spend more time into it and really maybe give it that extra budget, you know, for some of those really good fight scenes, that, like, that's great. I'm excited. Like, I can't fucking wait. It's gonna be great. Okay, well, next let's talk about just things we really haven't seen. There's a lot of stuff in the actual books that we didn't get to see. Like, of course, no adaptation is perfect, right? But Overlord itself and Madhouse have been doing a really good job. I want to say it's an 8 to 10 in terms of like the actual book adaptations to the anime. Of course, like I said, nothing's perfect. You know, there's a lot of details they missed for very small things that we didn't get to see, obviously. But even with that, I as an Overlord fan who's read all the books, including the ones that were translated by the community in my modern English or so on, I read. Like, and I honestly still say that I'm pretty much happy from what I read to the anime to the books. Like, I was not unhappy. All the really important scenes I felt were there. Like, I did not feel, there was a few scenes with some characters that was not there that I wish was there, but besides that, I loved it. It was great. I didn't feel like I missed anything that I didn't see in the books, really, you know? So, having a show that actually adapts pretty damn well is actually pretty good. That's pretty nice, you know? I don't think I see many Overlord fans say, oh, it wasn't adapted to the books well. Like, some Harry Potter people talk about the Harry Potter books, for example. Like, they're just like, oh, it wasn't like that in the manga or whatever it was, right? So I'm happy to see that a thing actually did that well. And I definitely feel like they're gonna go back a little bit in this anime and the movie to kind of explain stuff they kind of skipped in the past seasons, because it was gonna be more consistent to this point. So I'm looking forward to see if that happens. And just that possibility that might happen is gonna be great. Like, for example, this is not really spoilers. They actually talked about this in the very early volumes of the book. There's the original some of the players from the modern world that went to this new world Ainz is in. There was players before at some point, right? Oh, talking about the person, talking about one of the key people right here. So those people weren't all like, you know, some of them were humans, you know, of the human race for their character or whatever, right? Those people did eventually never go back, and they actually ended up having kids with NPCs in this world, new world, right? And those kids actually ended up becoming half-breeds, where they were half real-life players and NPC, basically. Like, they were both. And those people are extremely strong. Like, they're definitely not as strong as their parents were, but they're pretty up there, and they can definitely hit possibilities that shouldn't be allowed for most NPCs in this world. And that's something that I don't think they talked at all in the anime about, and that is so significant. So I hope they're gonna go back a little bit in these things to talk about that, and that alone, if they end up going back and talking about it, it's gonna make the show absolutely great. We're gonna get more story about the actual real story of Overlord, and it's about Ainz in the real world and stuff like that. You know, like, oh, is he gonna go back one day? Like, that alone plotline will always be able to be the main plotline for the show. Will definitely sell this and make people want to watch just because of that. You're like, oh, is Ainz ever gonna go back? Even if you watch season 1, you're like, oh, and then watch the other season, you might still go back and rewatch them and watch the new season, because you're like, oh, I want to see if Ainz goes back, you know, I want to see what happens with that, right? Because that's a pretty good damn plot line for the show, right? And the final thing we'll talk about is the possibilities, right? Once again, that there's so much stuff about the Overlord lore that we don't know about. And then things we do know about, but we know more about, that will appear in the upcoming volumes, you know, and they might include that, you know. Like, for example, I mentioned there's a extra story where Ainz was teleported without his entire guild and everything, and he becomes like, he meets Evil Eye when she's younger, and he teaches her, and it's a nice little 1-volume thingy, and it's great. I would love to see an over of that, and that's a possibility right there. That could be over for the end of season 4, where it's that part of the volume, you know. Which is not mean. It's not. I don't think it's exactly canon. It's like alternate universe stuff. That's what could happen. That alone is great. You know, there's so much little stuff we have about Overlord. The author's been very, very like tidy about what stuff he puts out, and I like that. Don't over demand put stuff out for your anime and there's not enough people buying it. You know, make it where people want to work hard to buy your stuff, because it should. You know, nothing that's gotten easy is worth the time ever. Right? It's ever worth it. So that alone's gonna definitely like sell copies, and that alone will like make people want to like watch the show. And another thing that people, I always hear about constantly, these people are like, oh well, you know, Overlord's just not that popular. I don't want to be part of a fandom that's not that popular. With everything that's gonna happen in so far with Overlord, and seeing that how this is one of the few animes I've seen that actually gonna go as far as a season 4 for a show that wasn't even that people wouldn't say that wasn't that popular. It seems pretty damn popular that they went this far. You know, we don't have like No Game No Life, or we never even got a we never got a second season or something. I'm like, no. We're actually gonna be getting. We're gonna be on our 4th season already with a movie. This is something that's gonna be worth the time to invest your time into. And even with all that, even if Overlord itself wasn't that popular before, it's gonna be now, since we hit a point in the show where we're done building up a little bit. We did the build up. Here is the payoffs, you know, and the going out. Because if you don't know, we're in volume 14, I believe, officially in the actual like novels, and the author said he's only gonna write so many more novels before he's done with the world. That means that we're gonna be probably the next like few years. We're gonna be maybe in like the next 5 years. We're gonna probably be done with the volumes with the light novel. Meaning Overlord will have an ending. Meaning that the ending is in sight. And I have a feeling Madhouse, since they've gone this far, they're gonna make sure they finish Overlord from anime wise from the beginning to the end, which I'm excited about. Like, I have no idea how Overlord's gonna end, and that alone is enough for discussion. I can make a whole video talking about how I think Overlord's gonna end, because just that alone, and any show that it's popular enough that makes a discussion is worth investing your time into. And everyone, please be prepared. There's gonna be a lot of new people coming to Overlord. People are like, oh, Overlord's still around? See, this is season 4? Damn, this show must be good, right? Like, it's gonna happen, guys. And that alone should make will make Overlord amazing, because the amount of new people that will be coming in and helping the series become more popular, you know. So please don't gatekeep anybody. But that alone is gonna make Overlord great. When a show that was like people consider so unpopular is on season 4, and they're like, oh, this show must be pretty good though on season 4. Like, goddamn, right? You know, that's like how Date A Live has to be pretty good, right? Even though they're on like a super late season, you know, and it's just another rom-com like anime. It must be pretty damn good if it's still doing it, right? Like, so somebody's sleeping with somebody, you know, in real life to get that stuff done, right? It's gonna be great, guys. I kind of rambled a little bit, but I'm telling you guys, it's gonna be great. I have no doubts in my mind Madhouse is gonna do a great job. They're already showing they're doing some great work, you know. Madhouse themselves have been pretty like out there, and they're like, hey guys, we're trying our best, you know. Isn't like they are like not doing, like they're just not caring about the actual like fans. They do care about the fans, you know. And if you don't know, the author of Overlord, he's extremely picky. He definitely like has director control in there, you know what I'm saying? He definitely is like, hey, don't do this, don't ruin my thing, you know. Like, that's why we don't see merchandise everywhere. Overlord, he's like, hey, I want my stuff to be actually cared about, and that alone is pretty great from a author's perspective. Like, be part of your show, let them know, hey, don't do this to my show, don't do a Game of Thrones and ruin my show, right? Like, don't do that, right? I don't know how much to say. Like, if you're not gonna if you're watching this and you haven't seen Overlord, give it a chance, you know. And if you're a fan of Overlord, go on Amazon and at least buy one of the volumes, at least just one, especially the hard copy ones. So you get those cool pictures stuff inside and everything. It's pretty good. There's a lot of cool pictures in here. You have exclusive, and that's what a lot of the pictures on here you've been seeing. They're actually pictures from the books and stuff and promotion art stuff. It's definitely worth checking out. You know, some of them are even in full color, and that alone is probably worth the money, honestly. Because I have such a hard time in America getting Overlord merchandise. Like, it's so hard. So definitely, that's all I really want to say right now, guys. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Please show the love for the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, buy the books. Don't gatekeep any new people. Invite them in, guys. Let's be a better fandom than other fandoms. Invite them in, guys. Like, it doesn't matter who would beat. Ooh. We all know why we like Overlord. We love it because Einstein's such an interesting character. We love all of the unique characters. We love the world that is built into. Like, let's care about the things that matter, you know. Is you know, the author, the work, make sure the author supported, the world we love, and that's it, you know. I hate seeing the Overlord fans say, hell, Ainz will beat everybody in the universe because I'm like, no, Ainz isn't even like supposed to be like super overpowered like that, you know? Like, that's the thing, like, he's supposed to just be like a guy, you know? Yeah, he's strong in this world and that's great, right? But he's supposed to be a guy in his reaction of being this overpowered guy, right? And that's what makes this show so interesting. So let's be better. Let's be better than other fandoms and not gatekeep anybody and show, hey guys, come in, guys, come watch the Overlord season. Come talk about Overlord with us, you know. And hey, if you guys have any questions about the light novel, let me know. You can put comments, you know, and I'll try to answer them back without any spoilers. Or if you want spoilers, I'll give them to you. We have a Discord and thing. Like, and message me, be like, hey, you know, I want to know this about Overlord or something, like, for free, you know, or direct you to a source you can read about it and be like, hey, here you go, right? It's I just love Overlord, guys. Like, and I think we all can agree, Overlord's gonna be amazing.